I'm very, very, very excited for today. We have Mr. Travis Szendrei. I mean, it's really interesting because we met through our business, and it's actually really, really curious to meet you because the character you are and the way you present yourself is fascinating. Like, I've been looking at your content, but trying to look through your past, and it's so, just all the people and the connections you know, it's insane.
It's a movie. People are on it already. On making the movie.
So I'm really excited to jump into it. Welcome to the B&E podcast. This is the beginning of the never ending. We're talking about the beginning of Travis and the life and the legacy that he's going to leave behind. I mean, yet to create. So we're really excited to jump into it. Let's get into the story. So to start, tell me where does it? What's the story? Where does it begin? Tell me about you.
Well, it begins in Portland, Maine. That's where I was born. October 23rd, 1981. I was born to two incredibly loving parents, Elaine and Lawrence Szendrei, and we lived in a little red house. I have no memory of it. I've only been told. In Cumberland. Then we moved to Gray, Maine. That's where I spent my childhood up until I was 17, 18.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What's Maine like? You don't hear a lot of Maine.
It's scary.
On the map.
That's why I have trouble going back there. And I love Stephen King and all the horror around it, but there's also a very huge amount of truth to how spooky Maine is. For me, at least.
No, I mean, I've heard stories, so I can only imagine. But I mean, that's cool. So that's cool. That's pretty interesting. The first part of your life. Yeah. So I would like to dump into that. You mentioned that your parents have been a big. Seems like they're obviously loving and caring. Are they still out there? What's kind of that?
Oh yeah. They're still out there. They are in Gray. Actually, they just moved to Ossipee. New Hampshire, and that was just a better fit for them since all the kids are out of the house. They've been planning it for a long time, so they're living in a cabin now, and it's great. No one's ever, trees everywhere, so it's still spooky, But and then I got my two brothers. They're twins, Nathan Szendrei and Alex Szendrei. They've always been super supportive and shit. And the thing with my family is they've always believed in me. They're just not sure if they believe in Hollywood, if that makes sense.
I can understand that. There's a lot of dreams that die in Hollywood. So it puts you in a different perspective. You said 17 you were out there.
Yeah.
The transition from leaving your home.
Tough.
Did you jump straight over here to Hollywood, or?
No, I unfortunately had a bad event happen with my ex-girlfriend at the time. She made out with her brother's friend, told me, and at that age, it's kind of like when you're told that news, your world is ending.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but I wasn't strong enough just to leave at that point in my life. I stayed with her and resented her the whole time. And then I had, Erin Bagley's my best friend. She brought really terrible emotions out of him and his mother and everyone around us. So it was just chaotic and really put me in a state of depression.
So you're just trying to find your way now?
Sense
of balance.
I think I've found my way. But it took going through all these horrible things in order to find it, because you learn from not only the good in the world but the negative. And once you get slapped in the face or punched in the face enough, you change your direction. And right now I'm going straight. Before I was going all over the place.
So you're mentioning that like your brothers have been they're twins, and your family obviously have been kind of supportive of you and the character that you are.
Not at first. I mean, they were scared fucking shitless. I mean, I was listening to Antichrist Superstar and, fuck Marilyn Manson, but at this point, and that's why I know where I'm going is straight.
Right.
But I was listening to Nine Inch Nails, the scariest records there were, so they were very concerned about me at a young age.
Mm.
Yeah.
So then, so to dive deeper there then, what type of people are they? Like, what's their personality like?
They have very, very good values. Never heard them yell at each other.
Mm.
I heard my dad yell when he'd get home from work if there was someone spilled milk or some shit like that. But overall, it's just, like a really loving family.
Mm.
They were concerned about me just recently and flew out here, and I thank them for that.
Mm.
That's
not a lot of people tend to have those type of support. So that's really cool. The fact that you have that type of that kind of family to lean on, especially.
Absolutely.
Is your grandparents, they tend to be about any cousin or aunts that have been influenced in your life?
Yeah, my grandmother was my biggest influence. She was an artist, traveled the world, much like I did, and will be doing. So to me, she's my angel, kind of, looking over me and sending me through this journey and helping me get through it.
What is the what type of art did she practice?
Paints.
Oh, she was a painter.
Yeah.
Painting is it's not an easy craft, especially very hard to travel and to be able to do that piece.
Yeah.
She must have been really good.
Extremely. I mean, the best in my opinion. So, and she heard all the music I was listening to, Radiohead to Eminem to 50 Cent to, just Nine Inch Nails, everything. And she recognized the artist soon.
She was able to get she saw that, like,
she saw it.
So she cultivated then. She helped, not, well, I wouldn't say like, obviously in the 9 Inch Nails, but for sure there seems like she didn't try to squander that. There's a lot of people who, I guess, they get scared and they want to, like, drown out the fire because, they don't want, but it seems like you had people around you who was really obviously trying to be as much as supportive as possible for that journey and process. And what's crazy, which a lot of people don't know yet, right, where it has gotten you, it's a huge benefit to have that, that let you have that creative freedom. So yeah, I want to dive a little bit more into that.
Yeah.
So where do you go after Maine?
After Maine, I went to New York.
New York?
Yeah, and that's where I got my music business degree. And I think I got a lot of my fashion sense from late night New York. That's why, I was much more influenced by fashion by 50 Cent, Lloyd Banks, G Unit. We actually used to call my grandmother G Unit, Tony Yayo, shit like that. And, it was just like, again, like, Eminem, that whole, like, movement with Dre just was, completely changed my life, My favorite bands were like Porno for Pyros, Garbage, Jane's Addiction. So yeah, my parents were concerned, but they held my hand and realized what I was going through. So there was never any anger or stopping of love.
You're in New York.
Yeah.
This is like the mecca of like the street, the especially because New Yorkers are not just normal, like, hey, nice to see you. They're like, what? Move out of the way. I got things.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I mean, dude, was that a culture shit? Was that the culture? Was it feeling like, or did you visit New York often when you were going where you're living in Maine? I know they're close.
Well, I unfortunately, just to jump ahead a bit, my ex-girlfriend Susanna Tracy Taft was from New York City. Now, this person is the devil as far as I'm concerned. All right? And I'd visit New York, and I had more trauma then because it was like just the situation I was dealing with, the drug addict, and trying to babysit all that stuff, which I'm used to. I'm used to doing artist management. But with someone like your girlfriend at the time, it's completely different. Somehow... She was blocked, but she contacted me yesterday somehow. I don't know how the fuck. Maybe emergency number, but she said all these lies and shit like that. And she's like, no one will ever know this about you. And then I just posted it on my Instagram. I'm like, now people do. You know, you're lying. You know.
So it seems like you don't have, you're not it seems like you got this thick skin, able to be able to put yourself in environments and not just, I mean, obviously when you're surrounded by someone who tends to, I mean, obviously they're fighting their own demons, right?
Yeah.
Obviously that's not easy, and you're trying to figure yourself out, and you're going through school this time, during this time, this process, all that, it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you know, going through a day of school and then traveling to the clubs and seeing bands late night and shit like that with Tom Lee and
what?
Yeah, Tom Lee from Universal. So we were hanging out and just seeing Curly and Lady Gaga, all these amazing musicians, and that's kind of how I learned to get the ear, you know, because I listened to music before, I wasn't hearing it, and then I consumed it and it became part of me.
So you started so what did school do for you then? What was that? What did it add? If it felt like you gained a lot more from being a part and near these artists and being part of these record labels and these major figures, right? So what does school kind of do for you to help that process as well?
What it did, and this is why I think everyone should stay in school unless you have a very good opportunity pending. Basically what it did was I was surrounded by people that were now teachers that used to work in the music business. So it was like this whole feeding off each other frenzy of piranhas, and it just started to rise up.
You essentially were able to start building this like network per se.
Correct. Yeah.
You still come in contact with some people from schools to this day?
Oh yeah. It's crazy. I mean, Tony Scafidi was the one that really saw it in me and was like, I'd buy this. And people, whenever someone says I'll buy it, that means there's a ton of value to it, because music is kind of like marijuana, where people don't need it to survive, but if you like that feeling, you're gonna want more of it.
Yeah.
So that's what music is. As far as I'm concerned, it's a drug, and people get addicted.
So how long have you been creating like music and art that because it seems like the music obviously is the passion, right?
Yeah.
So you go to school for it even as well. Did this start in Maine, or was this just more when you came to New York?
Started in Maine when I was like 8 years old. Yeah. Then I started hearing stuff on the poppiest radio station, like 92 Moose in Maine.
92 Moose.
Yeah. There's a lot of moose in Maine. People hit them all the time. But I heard Green Day's When I Come Around,
oh my God.
Nirvana's Unplugged album, you know, Pets by Porno for Pyros, and then that was it. You know,
that was the full indoctrination.
That was the full indoctrination.
That's awesome.
Literally lit a fire underneath my ass. You know what I mean?
So I mean, it doesn't. I don't think Maine. You tend to have a lot of people to collab with, or a lot of resources. You know.
No. I was completely on my own, except for my best friend Aaron Bagley and my former drummer Daniel Kramer. So us three and the singer Seth Brown at the time, who sung in other bands, it's like us four were alone.
And being alone, where are you getting your tools to like how are you even getting the recording? You're using a cell phone here, like what? Obviously this is back in the 80s, 90s, right? Early 90s. Yeah. So like you're talking about like. You don't have like a lot. Like you don't have, you know,
it's fucking 4-track recordings, and we made them sound as good as we could.
Yeah.
And you know, we learned a lot going through that process. And if we didn't go through that process, none of us would be doing what we're doing today. I mean, my drummer is another exception. He needs to go to rehab, but he is in denial. He's afraid that his father is going to cut off finances. He's 41, living off his dad, who's a great doctor, by the way, like at Maine Med. He's a great doctor.
See, I'm in business, right? And business, you know, there's a lot of users in business because you tend to just especially when you're chasing the dragon, right?
Oh yeah, there's users and then there's addicts.
See, that's where functional, right? Because you've been in business, you have to be functional.
Yeah.
But there's something about art where it's like it's really embedded and it's really hard. It's really, really, really hard to fight it off, you know? 'Cause everywhere you go. You have the studio, you go to the concert, you got the, you hang out with your friends.
It chases you.
It's
it
weird.
Fucking chases you.
It's like it's I mean, what do you feel like? I guess we're getting a little bit off topic here.
It's all good.